Who knows that game? What game was that?
Original bomb from Atari.
So raise your hands. Who knows that game? Right, tennis for two or Pong. Well, Pong was first created by a person called Dr. Nagin Botham. It's really hard. Well, I first tried to pronounce it, it was really hard, but he first invented it in a oscilloscope. It was just a circle screen with just grid on it, and it just bounced back and forth. And 1972 was the first arcade game. 72 was the first arcade game to release, and it was first introduced in Any Camps. It was first introduced in Any Camps Tavern in Sunnyvale, California, was where it was first tested, and later it stopped working. Why? Because quarters got jammed in it because people played it so much that it needed repair to empty out all the quarters. And okay, in 75, Atari sold its first home version of Pong, which sold in the sports department because no other toy business will support this. So they had to sell it to Sears, and they sold it in the sports section. And and then that's this one. Okay. And then Atari made another system called the Atari 2600, and they just featured as international. Wow. Okay, ISGen notes that the Atari 2600 was featuring a joystick, interchangeable cartridges, a game in color, and switches for selecting games difficulty levels, and it makes millions of Americans home video game players. In 1985, the Nintendo got into this very competitive gaming industry and released their Nintendo Entertainment System, which was the first game to have Zelda and Zelda. Well, it was the first system to bring home Mario and Zelda to many Americans' homes, which drives them all crazy and sold like over 60 million units in the market. And 1995, the PlayStation 1 was released. New York Times says mainly to face off between Nintendo. And 95 was the release of PlayStation 2, or PlayStation 2. No, 1999 was the release of PlayStation 2, and in 2001, Xbox was released and was very popular with a very signature game called Halo Combat Evolved. And later made a new system called the Xbox 360, which worked with standard and high definition when TV started to become more advanced, when it was just not just a box with standard definition and no color or very little color. They started to come out with HD TVs. And then Nintendo made a new system called the Wii that came out came out in 2005. And in 05 it came out, and I guess the more people went crazy for that. And then then Sony invented their PlayStation 3, which was like a great invention from Sony because it started to become more HD, and it came with Blu-ray drivers to read high quality video games, and also DVDs. And then now, from past to the present, Xbox and PlayStation have become the most competitive companies to face off each other. Xbox and PlayStation. Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Nintendo made their own system. Wii U was to push the Xbox and PlayStation out of the industry, but yet failed, but yet was still very popular with many consumers, and but they're mostly on the sideline since they weren't very as popular as now, because Xbox and PS4 have taken over the gaming industry, and PS4 is selling over 1.4 million units, and Xbox selling 1.2 million units across the world. And to wrap it up is the gaming industry have been around for over years, decades, and will continue to change, and sooner or later it will be available in every single household. And that's it for mine.
So Isela, what did you think?
Well, I thought the delivery was, I think the game and the survey grabbed the audience's attention, and the visuals were big enough to see. Maybe there was a little confusion reading the index cards. I don't know, but, and
Do you understand the difference between PlayStation and Xbox?
yes, there's
Because
a lot
of his speech?
information, a lot of sources. Well, I don't know if he cited.
Did he
correctly,
cite any sources?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Could you name one of them?
No, I couldn't write it.
Yeah, neither could I.
New York Times. New York Times.
Yeah. Okay, so
You did it? That was the sales number, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Did you have a source citation for the, you mentioned who it was who invented the game, the original Pong. And you told us that great story at the beginning, how the games failed not because of the technology that was the electronics, but because the quarters got stuck in the machines. Where'd you pick that up?
It was from International Center of History in Electronic Gaming.
See, that would have been a good thing to put in there.
It is in there.
Okay, well, when you watch it back, let's see if it's in there, because I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, I just summarized it was Ichigen.
What's that?
Ichigen.
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 Okay. All right. Y'all done?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Andrew, I like the attention device. I think you had the right idea here. I do think that you have a problem with your purpose statement not being very clear. I mean, I know what the subject is, but I'm not exactly sure. It sounds to me like it's going to be similar to the speech that we just heard on Jets. You're going to be talking about the evolution of home gaming systems. But I'm not positive about that. So that should be really clear. There was no preview in the speech, and that's problematic. At the end of the speech, you've got a pretty good justification, because you're in essence saying that these are going to be fairly universal in people's homes, as I'm not sure how universal they are now. I mean, you mentioned the sales on one thing. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not sure that sales number that you presented is all that impressive. You know, they sold 1.3 million units around the world. I'm going, that doesn't sound like a lot. You know, maybe that's on the first day or something like that, because 1.3 million units, that's not even 1%, that's like a 0.5% in the United States. if you took it for the whole world, it's a teeny minuscule amount. That seems like it's really small. So I think you've got some numbers there that are either out of context.
It was supposed to be the first thing.
Yeah, okay, there you go. And you need to talk, for instance, about the penetration into the marketplace. What percentage is Xbox? What percentage is Nintendo? What percentage is PlayStation? That sort of thing, so that we can see. You had a lot of interesting pieces of information that get randomly dropped in and then don't get developed. There's no story behind them. The first one that you had, of course, is the one that I just mentioned about the quarters getting stuck in the machines. I thought that was kind of interesting. The introduction of PlayStation and all the platforms that developed, it basically just becomes a list of, well, there's PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3, and this is what they had on each of those things. And so it looks like a specification review, which is not going to be very interesting. At one point you said we had planned on shoving the other ones right out of the marketplace. And I go, okay, so what was the strategy there, and why didn't it work? What happened there? And what's the difference between these two platforms? Why does one matter more than the other? Is it the games that are available? Is it the way that people interact with the games? Is it just as television's got better, the games got better, and that's all there is to it? It's really just we have to wait until 3D television comes home, and then we'll get the 3D games, and then we have to wait for the fourth dimensional ones, so they'll actually slap you around a little bit while you're playing. I don't know. I know they have seats that you can sit in that move around while you're playing the game too. Is that what's next? It just seems like you've got bits and pieces of information, and you need stories to go with those pieces of information to make it more interesting. It's chronological in nature, so it's not that hard to follow. I did think on the visuals that there were a couple of times you have multiple images up on the slides, and I'm not sure which one you're talking about at any given point. I think it would be better to maybe focus on one at a time instead. And if you're doing a comparison, that's okay, but then make the comparison, and I'm not sure that you did that. It sounds like your speech needed to be practiced a few more times. It really just seems like you are uncertain as to where you're going in each section of the presentation. You should know it kind of backwards and forwards at this point, and it sounds like you're still figuring out which direction it's going to go and end up in. And at the end of the speech, we've got that great exit line, same one that Porky Pig has. That's all. All right, thank you.